may not be that smart and they may not be that pretty, but they like to talk about Cardiff City. It's the view from the Ninian, with views from the Ninian, not shoes from the Ninian, the view from the Ninian.
Welcome to the first View from the Ninian of the new season. We haven't had much of a pre-season. After just 6 weeks since our last game, we've already had an international break, a Carabao Cup game, and now the first league game is just a few days away. Today we look forward and backward, upward and forward, and always twirling towards the new season. And joining me as always are the other Ben Price and Tom Phillips. Ben, how you doing?
I'm really good, mate. Thank you very much.
Tom Phillips, you're back in West Wales. How's it down there? How's it looking?
Yeah, it hasn't changed in 30 years still. So, yeah, in a good mood, ready for the pod.
I hear they've just got podcasts down there in the last couple of weeks.
I've been out with a sandwich board spreading the word.
Yeah, the good word.
Yeah, we might have a couple of extra listeners, hopefully.
Oh, excellent. Well, we welcome our West Walian brethren. And I suppose there's no better way to start, really, than a new podcast. Looking forward to the new season, and we've got a drubbing to talk about. Ben, we lost yesterday to Northampton in the Carabao Cup 3-0. Anything else to say other than it was an absolute drubbing?
Oh, we're back in style, aren't we? That optimism, that hope, that wonder of a new season, gone after 60 minutes.
Extinguished.
Fucking superb.
I mean, the obvious question is, was it worth the £10 that I presume you both paid for the stream? Or Ben, you might have got yours with your season ticket. I don't know what the rules were. Was it worth the £10 that you paid to stream it? Ben, I assume you paid to stream it. That's a shake of a head.
Paid £10 to watch Sol Bamba act like a geriatric fucking with dementia. It was just horrific. And yeah, 10 quid for a Carabao Cup game is bad enough. But to watch the stream and get battered by Northampton.
Yeah, I mean, I feel aggrieved on your behalf that you paid £10 for it. Tom, do you agree with that summation?
Yeah, that was £10 I'll never get back. I try to convince my partner, like, let's not go out. I want to watch the Cardiff game. It'll be worth it. Beginning of the new season. I'm in a good mood. Yeah, it didn't go well, to be honest with you. I wish I'd gone out and just ignored the game had ever happened.
Well, I mean, let's get stuck into the analysis. I think the big talking point was that we tried 5 at the back, and Benefactor on Twitter has said 3 centre-backs, viable solution to keep with it, or dreadful experiment and lose it. My perspective is I'm glad we tried it in a competitive game, but Ben, I suppose it's the second time we've tried it, and the second time it hasn't worked, right?
Yeah, we're just not very good at it. We have, as much as we like to think we've got the team to do it, we think Bennett and Jordi Tutu are players that can get up and down, sort of fill that system. It just doesn't work. We haven't got the ball playing centre-backs that work for it. Nelson's probably the only one that can really work with the ball. Sol used to be able to, but I think we'll come on to that in a bit. It's just not a system that does it for us. Paul Trollope tried it. It was a disaster. We tried it at QPR a while back, got battered 5-1. We've tried it again, and we've got 6-1, sorry.
Don't give him any credit for that.
Right, it was worse than I thought. And then, we try it against Northampton and get battered 3-0. It was worked. The weird thing is, it worked all right against Cheltenham. I caught the first half on my lunch break on Tuesday, and it wasn't that bad. Sort of played well. I know it's a poor opposition. It wasn't a competitive game, but I don't know what went wrong. Like Cheltenham and Northampton set up in very similar ways, played very similar styles. It was just that little bit of extra quality undone us massively.
And Tom, do you have anything else to add on that? Are you glad we tried it in essentially a glorified pre-season friendly, as it turned out yesterday, or would you want to see it again?
I don't think I want to see it again, no. But it did have that pre-season feel, and I don't think we're going to be too gutted about it, are we? Like, this Carabao Cup, it's less midweek games going forward. It's an experiment that hasn't worked, but I think the key thing is it didn't work against Northampton and it didn't work against QPR, and I think that is because of just a couple of players in that team. I think it didn't work with Bamba there now, and it's hard to say because he was such a hero for us, but I think his best days are gone now, aren't they? And you swap in, say, Rawls into that team, you get another centre back in that system, and perhaps it does work, because I think the best players on the pitch for us were arguably Murphy. He didn't do a lot, but he did more than other people. There was flashes. I think Geordie as well. Yes, it was sloppy for the pen, but I think he got forward a little bit. He looked all right defensively, largely. So, bringing those wide players into it, it could work. It's just you can't do it with someone whose legs are gone like Bamba in that system.
We'll come on to Bamba next, but Benefactor, obviously, he tweeted at us as well and said that considering how condensed these fixtures are going to be this year, do you think that getting dumped out of the League Cup this early is going to be ultimately a good thing with less needless fixtures? And I think, it's a loser's prerogative, isn't it? I think if we'd won, we'd have been like, brilliant, we're on to a great start for the new season. But because we lost, we can write it off. But Ben, do you agree? Do you think one less cup competition is going to be good for the league tilt?
It's hard to say, isn't it? What I will say is last time we lost Northampton in the League Cup, we went on to win the league. So we've got that going for us.
Mm-hmm.
On the other side, we could have probably done with the games to get a few players that haven't played much football a decent run. It also never is good to lose to a lower league side.
And to lose 3-0.
Without 3-0 and no goals. It was just... yeah.
We had chances. It's fine. Glatzel missed a free header. We had flashes. Let's look at the positives, shall we?
The only flash we had was off Glatzel's hair.
Yeah. Smith, I'm saying this, it's not really a positive. Smithies had a good game.
Apparently Smithies was man of the match according to Wales Online.
Yeah, it could have been 5. He pulled off 2 really good saves.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, I watched the highlights, the condensed 2.5-minute highlights on the Cardiff City YouTube channel, and we had one chance that they showed. And I think if that's the club highlight channel showing that we only had one chance, it must have been a pretty bad game. We've touched on it already, and I've written in the running order here the end of Bamba. I mean, it's quite a dramatic thing to say, Ben, but he hasn't looked his best for a long time, has he?
He's just never come back from that injury, has he? At that age, a serious cruciate injury like that, was someone that always sort of relied on his spring and sort of that initial burst. He was never quick, but to lose half of the yard when you're not that quick really, really does show. Mm-hmm. And I absolutely adore Sol. One of my favourite players, just the character, just everything about him. I love him, but it pains me to see him playing like this at the moment. And it's not a case of, he's just come back from this injury, he's getting back to fitness. It's been 12 months. He's been back in the squad. And he's not hit that stride again. Okay, he's not playing week in, week out, but he doesn't deserve to play week in, week out because at the moment, and I don't think he will get back to the player that is good enough to play regularly in a championship side.
Tom, you've been nodding, shaking your head along there. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, it's sad to see, and I hope it doesn't kind of tarnish his reputation. I think this might be one of the last times we see him on the pitch with in the Cardiff shirt. We've got a 20-goal a season scoring centre half for Flint, as you've seen pre-season. So, it is a pity to see it, but yeah, his days are numbered really. He's obviously a good person to have around the dressing room,
isn't he?
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's what he's going to be there for now, which is sad, but that's how it is.
Yeah, I think ultimately, if you watching the highlights and watching back, you could argue that he was at fault for all 3 goals, right? The first one, he let the guy turn when he shouldn't have. The second one, he was too late bringing up the back line, and the guy tried to play him offside, and he was playing him onside. And the third goal as well, he just didn't get anywhere near the guy who laid it off to the guy who eventually scored the goal. So yeah, I agree with you guys. I think I'd love to see him transition to be a coach. I think he's been doing work with the under-23s, and I think he's got a year left on his contract. And I think having him around the dressing room for this year could be vital. But yeah, I wouldn't trust him on the football pitch anymore. And I guess the final thing to say on Northampton, because I don't want to labour the point on a 3-0 loss, really is we've got people like Moore and Volks coming back in next week. I mean, it was quite a strong team, Ben. What are the main changes that you would make from yesterday's team?
The formation, personnel other than Smithies all have there's not really Murphy, like you said, probably the only other player that really could stake a place for starting and say they deserve to start based off that performance. But you can see from Harris's reaction at full time, sort of the interview he gave, he won't stand for being outfought and outplayed. So I think it's a kick up the arse to all those players, and it's good that it's happened now in like a competition first round rather than getting us off to a poor start, because you saw how long it took us to recover in the league from a poor start. This way, we've sort of got a bit of a kick up the arse and get going. But yeah, I think Volks more come straight back into the side, and we go to the trusted 4-5-1.
Tom?
Yeah, I agree. I thought Bennett had an all right game. I think it was soft when he went down. They nearly scored from him, being a little bit soft on the touchline at one point. But I think I think he had a decent game.
He's solid, isn't he, Bennett? He's solid. You know what you get with him.
Yeah, exactly. I thought Geordie had a good game as well out there on the whole. And he's going to be a little bit rusty as well, just joining with the squad and stuff. But yeah, Moore's going to walk into that. As long as he's not absolutely shattered, he's going to walk into that. But yeah, like you said, the formation, we can't stick with that going forward. I think Wednesday are likely to play with 5 at the back, looking at the way they've played so far. So it'd be interesting to see how we try and counteract that if we do try and match up. But I just can't see us trying that 5 at the back again.
Well, we'll come to a more kind of detailed Wednesday preview towards the end. But I think one of the positives we can take from yesterday is the inclusion and actually some game time, Ben, for a couple of the younger players. Was it Sang who came off the bench and Harris singled him out in the post-match?
He looked good, to be fair. Comfortable on the ball, made some nice passes. Was drafted in at a really shit time. Mm-hmm. So if you come on 3-0 down, it's never a good thing. But yeah, he looked all right. Looked solid. Looked comfortable on the ball. Like came to the ball, wasn't afraid to get on it. He looks promising. Hopefully, yes, it's one of the few players that makes a breakthrough season. I can't decide if it's a blessing or a curse that Mark Harris wasn't involved because it was just one of those games for Glatzel. It wasn't happening for him and we needed to make a change. Obviously, we had Aidan Flint on the bench, goal scorer.
Should have put him up front.
Yeah. But, someone like Mark Harris getting a run out there would have been quite nice. But
I think the international break, obviously, it's going to be a weird season, but I think they should have done something with the international break and the Carabao Cup because I think, Harris has said we were left with quite a bare squad and like you say, Harris, I think, has impressed in pre-season. He linked up quite nicely with Moore for the goal against Newport, and I think he probably would have got game time yesterday, which is a shame, but what shall be, shall be. And while we are looking backwards, I think it's time to introduce a new feature for the season. Former player watch, and there was some surprising news concerning a former Bluebird in the past week as Rhys Healey, the much maligned former Cardiff City striker, left MK Dons to join French League 2 side Toulouse. And I guess you could say that neither side has anything to lose with this transfer. Toulouse. Tom, coming over to you on this one, Rhys Healey, did you expect to see him making the move over to, a relatively big name in the French football scene?
I think, no, obviously not. No, I didn't see him go to Toulouse. I'm not going to try and blag that one. He's had a decent record with, MK Dons. 11 goals in, 19 games. He's not a bad striker. And, and he was doing well in what was a pretty, average team as well. So, it's a good move for him. I'd love him to do well. I don't think it's one of those ones where you see him go to another team and you're gutted we didn't keep him or anything like that. I think it's just... It'd be nice to see one of our former players who didn't quite hit it off with us do well elsewhere. Yeah.
Ben, did you think that Rhys Healey would ever be doing something like this, or had you written him off completely?
Well, I think my response when I messaged you boys in the chat when I found I was working that day, sort of avoided Twitter, didn't really see what had happened. Messaged you boys, what the fuck and how the fuck has that happened?
Yeah.
Those sort of, you're playing FIFA and you're bored, you can't be asked to play another game, you're just flicking through the transfers that have happened during the transfer window and you see Di Maria's gone to Everton or something really random.
Yeah.
And then you see that, it would make sense in FIFA or Football Manager, but just out of the blue or out of the purple for Toulouse. Just a surreal one. A hell of a deal for him. His agent deserves a medal. It's a great transfer.
Well, I think you say it's out the blue, but I think I for some reason over the last few weeks I've read a little bit about the Moneyball team who are behind what Toulouse are doing. It's one of those project teams basically where I think it's Redbird Capital have gone in to revolutionise the way they do things, and they're fully subscribed to the Moneyball ethos, and that's basically buying overperforming players from underperforming teams in slightly lesser leagues than the league they're in, and I think that's where it's come from really, and I think. Rhys Healey's obviously had a good couple of seasons at MK Dons. I think I just looked it up. He's got 19 in about 36 games for MK Dons, which is obviously a very good scoring record at League 1, League 2 kind of level. And he's been given an opportunity to go to Toulouse. And I think, like you say, his agent's probably getting a good cut of the deal. And we might see him back. It's the kind of thing really where they take players in and they try and turn them over to go to Premier League teams. If you look at what Brentford and stuff have done, they've had people like Ben Rama. They were all Moneyball signings. And I think it could catapult into the next big thing. And I guess the final question on the Rhys Healey conundrum is, we were all there at the Fulham game where he was brought on as almost like a scapegoat, Tom. I mean, do you think he was harshly treated at Cardiff? Do you think he should have been given more of a chance at the club?
I'm not sure I'd go that far that he was harshly treated. It just was never right for him, was it? And that was a horrible time to bring him on. Like, because you just knew the fans were going to groan and be like, "What the hell are you doing here?" Like, we needed a result, and he became kind of almost like a laughing stock thing because of that, and through no fault of his own. And I don't think that was. I think that was harsh, but I think the rest of the time, I just don't think he did enough while he was with us to kind of really warrant a place, really.
Ben, do you agree?
No, I don't. I think he was like with injuries. You forget when he broke through in that first spell with Warnock. Was it Rotherham? He ruptured his cruciate. He just scored a goal against Brentford the game before, got his first start and ruptured his cruciate. And before that, he was looking sharp. He was looking like the first player we've had in a long time that could regularly score goals, was getting into those positions for the tap-ins.
Yeah.
And it took him a while to get back from it. A young lad, serious injury. And then we get promoted. He was never going to be ready to play Premier League football.
No.
It was just one of those bad timing things that if we were in the Championship, we'd probably got a few more goals and got a better run. It was just, I think he was just sold under, like thrown under the bus a bit by Warnock, who just clearly didn't want to put Reed on.
I feel what you're saying with that a little bit at the end. I'm looking at his record at other clubs. I mean, at Newport, he got 6 in 17, Torquay 6 in 8, Milton Keynes, we've talked about his record already. Previously at Connors Quay, he was getting 12 in 19. He just never scored goals when he was at Cardiff, but I think, he's got a good opportunity now. So, I mean, all the best to Rhys Healey, I think, on that front. And then if we use that as a segue to get to our own transfer dealings, God, this is like seamless, this new running order. Unbelievable.
Like we planned it.
Yeah, it's like we've been doing this for a while. Let's talk about transfers, right? We've got a little bit left in the transfer window. I can't remember if the Championship one closed at the same time as the Premier League, but I think it's to the start of October, potentially. We've talked about doing business, and I think Harris has talked about basically getting to a point where it's one in, one out at the moment. We've signed Geordie and Kieffer Moore. We've got another signing due imminently, apparently. Tom, what would you rate our business so far? Do you think he's done well? Do you think he's done what he's needed to do?
I think it's decent. I think the Moore signing, as a big Wales fan as well, I'm getting overexcited. Part of me is thinking, here we go, 25 goals for Kieffer Moore this season. And, against Northampton, it looked like we were playing to Kieffer Moore's strength without him being there. We were just kind of like lumping balls forward and stuff. So, I think that's good business. I mean, we needed someone, a right back desperately, like a full back. So you can't moan about the Geordie business. And I think, he showed flashes of like a bit of pace. He's not scared to get forward. He's not scared to put the hard graft in, working back as well. So I think that could turn out to be a decent signing. Like, hopefully a couple more come through the door as well. But yeah, decent business so far.
Ben, what do you make of the Kieffer Moore signing? I think you're wearing a Wales shirt now. I presume you have Kieffer Moore on the back?
No, it's Joe Ledley on the back of this one.
Oh. Well, you don't get to say anything then about Kieffer Moore.
No. I love Kieffer Moore. The more I see him, the more I get excited by him. Generally, I think he's going to do absolute wonders for us.
Do you think he's going to do bits, as they say?
Bits, absolute limbs. He's going to cause scenes.
Announce Premier League.
Oh.
Yeah, and I mean, we talk about Geordie. Do you think we need to sign another right back? We're still a bit short at right back. There's still talk of Dion Sanderson.
I don't think Sanderson's the right one. I think we need a bit more of an experienced right back. I think we need just a bit of cover that's going to be all right to sit on the bench and sort of not play every game, but sort of has that experience and sort of can teach Geordie a bit more.
Would you sign Lee Peltier back?
No, I was going to say I'd go back for Gunter.
I was waiting for that.
Oh, really? Yeah. I mean, there is some debate over Chrissy Gunter, right? I mean, presume you're both in the bring back Gunter corner?
No, we've asked this before. I kind of just don't want to spoil his reputation. I don't want him to be a complete flop. Like, I'd rather not know.
You'd rather not know. And Ben, you want to know.
It's not a case of wanting to know. I think it's a case of just having someone with like good experience there. And I think he's the perfect man for that. Knows the club, knows the fans' expectations. But it's whether he's going to be willing not to play. He's going to come in being told, look, you're not first choice right back. You're here as cover and you'll get the odd game every now and again. It's whether he'll want that. Because obviously he's still chasing that magical 100 caps and he isn't going to get that. Arguably, he's going to struggle to get it now anyway. But it's going to be even harder if he sat on the bench at Cardiff. But for me, someone like Chris Gunter, experienced in the Championship's the perfect sort of cover for an inexperienced right back like Geordie.
Interesting. Do you agree with that assessment, Tom? Does that change your opinion of things?
No, it's quite funny to do like the knowing the fans' expectations. I think that'll put me off coming. I've met our fans.
Why are we signed Messi? Why are we signed Messi?
Yeah, but it wouldn't be a bad. Obviously, it wouldn't be a bad signing to have him there. Like, he's dependable. He'll come on. He'll do a job as well. So I wouldn't be disappointed if it happened. But I think I wouldn't. He wouldn't be my first choice. Don't ask me who my first choice is, because I don't know. But I don't think he'd be it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough one, isn't it? I think I agree with the bringing in the more experienced player. I mean, it feels like we let Lee Peltier go a bit too soon in that front, because I think he'd be the ideal candidate, right? He's coming towards the end of his career. He's solid. He knows the club as well. He's been there for a long time, and he could have helped work with someone. But I mean, I think it's almost like a question: is it Peltier or Gunter? I think I'd probably go for Gunter just for the sentimentality of the whole thing.
Peltier's laughing anyway. Let's face it. Out of that whole transfer deal, in Peltier was the winner. Didn't play a single minute, made the bench twice, and got a promotion bonus. Lovely bit of work if you can get it.
I mean, it's not bad, is it? I mean, and obviously we've got to talk about the business that we've done so far as well in terms of outgoings. Obviously, Danny Ward leave, and I think Etheridge is basically going to be going very soon. What do you make of that, Tom? Do you think Etheridge for about £1 million is good business or bad business at this stage?
It's a pity, considering the numbers that were touted before with him moving on, wasn't it? Like, he could have gone for a lot more. But, you know, getting any money for him now, he's kind of surplus to requirements, really, which I wouldn't have thought we'd be saying. But, you know, Smithies has stepped up in such a big way. Like, arguably our player of the season last year. And, you know, Day isn't a bad kind of reserve to have. You know, he's a decent keeper. Obviously, he hasn't had much of a run of games and stuff. But, you know, if you get money for Etheridge, £1 million does seem a bit disappointing, doesn't it, to be honest? But
was it £7-8 million that was bandied around either the year we went up
I
or
think
last...
West Ham were quoted about between 5 and 6, weren't they, in January?
Yeah. I mean, it's a bit of a come down, isn't it, Ben?
It is, but you sort of think the club he's going to is like, if the rumours to be believed, it's Birmingham. He's got a year left on his contract. He's on a decent wage. Birmingham barely have a pot to piss in. If we get £1 million from Birmingham, they're going to be happy. We're happy because we've got the wage off there. It sort of frees up more space. It makes sense. It's a disappointing fee when you first look at it. But if you think screw into the details of it, it makes a lot of sense for the club.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think, you know, Etheridge is at the stage of his career, obviously with being the Philippines #1, that he'll need to play. So I think, it benefits all parties, isn't it? What was that laugh for, Tom?
Nothing. I wasn't laughing, sorry.
Making me feel self-conscious there. And obviously the news from the press conference yesterday was that we've got a new player coming in tomorrow, Monday. The rumours going around are that Sheyi Ojo from Liverpool, or it's Jovetsun from Derby. Both seem to be wingers. I mean, Ben, do you know anything about either player?
I don't know. Paul Joyce, literally 12 minutes ago, has tweeted Liverpool winger Sheyi Ojo's set to join Cardiff City on loan. So
yeah,
it looks like he's the man coming into the club. His stats aren't phenomenal.
No, I mean, in the league last year, it was 19 games, 1 goal, 5 assists. He got I think he got 3 goals and 2 assists in the Europa League qualifying as well. Not phenomenal, but not necessarily bad at the same time.
Yeah, England under 21 a while back. It's not a bad appointment. He's not going to get into the Liverpool squad. At 23, he's obviously going to want to play a bit of football. So I just don't think it's a winger as the position we need. I'm guessing either he wants to bring Hoylett in as a cover at number 10, or Ojo's going in as number 10. I'm really not sure. Sort of from what I've seen on Twitter before, though, sort of Rangers fans seem to rate and think he's a decent enough player.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's not a bad transfer. It makes sense, doesn't it? Experience coming from a Premier League club, played with a lot of quality. He's on loan. There's not really a lot to lose.
Tom, what do you make of it? Ojo?
Yeah, it's not another... It's
oh,
not
yes,
like
or oh, no for Ojo?
I'll go for an oh, yes. Just about. You know, yeah, it's not one that's going to get everyone absolutely pumped, but, you know, it's a decent signing. We're not going to sign someone who's going to bag us 30 goals, like who's already scored 30 goals or anything like that. So, you know, it's an experienced head who's been around big clubs, you know, played under pressure and stuff. So, yeah, let's hope that given a run of games with us, he can, get firing.
Yeah, and I think coming back to the conversation we had earlier, I think, we're looking at the centre-half position again. Obviously, we're talking about as if Bamba is, not going to be getting anywhere near the team anymore. That leaves just Aidan Flint as our backup striker and defender. Ben, do you think we need to sign a new centre-half? Do we think we need to look at bringing in, we've signed Denham in the youth. Do we need to bring someone up from the youth to cover?
I'd like to have seen Kieran Brown get a run. I really would have. I really would like to see him in and around the first team and sort of make that breakthrough. I think he's one for us. I said it last season. I still think it. So I'm guessing it's probably going to be another loan, which might be where Anderson comes in. I think a few people will see him centre, and maybe that's where he comes in as a bit of cover. I don't really know. But yeah, I think we need to strengthen. If Bamba's waning, then yeah. But the question is, do the club see it as waning, or are they just going to sort of keep him? He'll do for now, and then we'll deal with it next year.
Yeah, do you think, Tom, it's one of those that we can kind of kick into January? Obviously, the priority this was the right back, the centre forward, and maybe an attacking midfielder. Do you think a centre half can wait?
Possibly, yeah, because we've got numbers there. It may not have a quality. I say numbers. We've got enough to cover like a couple of injuries. If a couple come in, then we're a little bit short. But yeah, like you said, it's something to probably wait till January. And we got Kieffer Moore could do the John Charles role, I reckon. Drop back in the centre back, then play up front. We've got options.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the reverse Aidan Flint, isn't it? Centre back to centre forward to centre back. Just swap them over. Give them a go, yeah. Can't play Aidan Flint at centre half. And obviously, I think one of the other things is that we've seen is the signing of people like Oliver Denham. It's the signing of, was it Zimba as well, who signed alongside him, a couple of players going into the youth team. And Harris has talked about that kind of pathway to the first team. Is that important now? Obviously, I think, Ben, I looked it up today, our team is the oldest in the league on average at 28.6. That's old, apparently, guys. Put me out to pasture. Do you think that pathway to the youth, the first team, is important now with all the the talk of people like, was it Dalmeida, Sang, Bagan? They're all going to be key players in the future, you'd think, right?
Yeah, I think it's massive. The club make a clear structure. It's what's been lacking for years. Has been a clear pathway between the under 20 from the development squad right through to the first team. Mm-hmm. The fact that the club are looking at this now and saying, right, we're really going to put a focus on creating a clear pathway, I think it's a massive positive. I think the club are doing a really good thing with that. And if it's anything like, if Sang continues to develop like he does and the other players come through with as much promise as they said they are, then yeah, I think we're on for a winner. They're looking to upgrade the academy. They can't do it this year now, but I think there was talk of them looking either be come in a category 2 or category 1 next year as well, which will really, really help things along. Would also see us, wouldn't it also see us end if we go category 1, enter in the Johnson Pink Trophy?
Yeah, it would. Yeah, we could enter our under 23s or under 21s.
Yeah.
And also that would, Tom, that would give us a bit of a one-up over Swansea because as much as we shouldn't always look down at what's going on down the road, they've lost some of their academy stages this year, haven't they? And I think when it comes to a few years ago, they were signing people like obviously Ben Cabango, who's a Cardiff boy. They were able to attract him as a Premier League team. Now, if we've got that slightly better academy, you'd think we'd get a better pick of the players.
Yeah, you'd hope so, wouldn't you? And we desperately need that because it's sick of seeing kind of just Swansea players coming through, making first team appearances, doing well, kind of moving on, getting international caps. And you can say like we've had Cardiff people who played at Cardiff still playing international now, but they're from a while ago. We're not getting many through, and the ones who are playing for Wales, who play for us, we've bought from elsewhere. There's not many who are kind of coming through. Mm-hmm. So it would be great to see us kind of like pip our little cousins down the road, really, to some of this talent. Because, yeah, they're poaching it from under our nose. And it's horrible to see, like, the likes of Cabango and stuff kind of go missing down to Swansea. So, yeah, it's desperately needed. And Harris did that well at Millwall. Like, when we appointed him, I thought, like, you can kind of see, I reckon the conversations would have been around, like, what can you do with, like, the youth and stuff? Because Tan's not going to want to be throwing money at signings now. We need to see some people being brought through our academy. And I think Harris is the right man to do that. And it's promising sign seeing what's happening at the moment.
Yeah, it's the first time in a few years that we've had a kind of crop of players that we're talking about with genuine first-team aspirations, isn't it? I think, we always hark back, like you say, Tom, with the players who we led into the Wales squad. It's Ramsey, Gunter. They're players from 10 years ago now who came through our youth team then. Now we've got 4 or 5 players who are genuinely on the verge of becoming first team players or getting first team minutes at least this year. And I think that's something that we should be praising really with old Mark Harris. And is it Steve Morrison, the former Wales striker, as our head of the academy?
It is, yeah.
Well, talking about Danny Ward, I know he's left the club. Bon voyage back to Huddersfield. I think it's one that a lot of fans were sad about. He became known for his performances off the bench, but in another new feature, we're trying to kind of demystify the stats. It's almost like myth-busting Cardiff City edition, and it's actually over to me for this one because I talked about this in the group chat a little while ago, and I just had to find the messages. So I think, last year there was some debate over who was our most effective striker. I think they all had their moments, really. Obviously, Ward came into his own at the end of the season. Glatzel had a run of games where he'd score, and Patterson came up with... I think Patterson, even though he had a bad season, still got 7 or 8 goals, which was quite a surprise to me. And I kind of looked at the stats last season around who was our most effective starting striker and who was our most effective striker off the bench. And people would think, who would you say is our most effective striker off the bench there, Ben?
For me, I always thought Danny Ward was.
Yeah.
Just seen as a super sub.
Well, Ben, you're bloody wrong. Let me tell you that. Let me tell you that for free. So I think if you look at the stats, I took this off Transfer Market, so hopefully it's as accurate as possible. Ward came off the bench 18 times last season and scored 6. That's about a goal every 3. Patterson came off the bench 18 times and scored once. That is a whopping 1 goal in 18, boys. Big it up for Callum Patterson. And Glatzel came off the bench 6 times and scored 3, and that's a goal about every 2 substitute appearances. So people would say that Danny Ward is our best striker off the bench, but Glatzel there, in less games has shown that he's more effective. And Tom, this one's for you. Who do you think was our most effective starting striker?
Oh, Glatzel.
Well, he seemed to start more of the games, right?
Yeah, I kind of panicked a bit then and just went, name a striker.
He started 21 and scored 4 goals from the start. So that was about a goal every 5.25 games. Ward started 7, scored 1. That's, a goal in every 7 games. But it was actually Callum Patterson. Started 17, scored 4. It's about a goal every 4.25 games. So our most effective starting striker last year was Callum Patterson, even though he had a bad season. And our most effective striker off the bench was Glatzel, even though he probably had a bad season as well by his own reckoning. So there we go. Myth busting over for the week. I don't even know if that feature will stay. But it was quite a bit of fun, wasn't it? Do you guys enjoy that? Do you learn something?
I enjoyed it. I thought it was fascinating, Ben.
Ben, do you agree?
Yeah, it's all right, wasn't it?
I think we can,
I wrote these notes in my bloody workball when I was on a conference call.
You can see now we've got a clear path. You start with Patterson because he gets more goals, and you bring on Glatzel.
You bring on Glatzel, and then Kieffer Moore just doesn't play. We don't need to play. We didn't need to sign him.
Yeah, it's actually a waste of money. I take back everything I said earlier on.
Right, looking ahead then, new season preview. Kieffer Moore, how many goals is he going to score? Tom?
20.
Ben?
15.
I'll go 17 in the middle. Right, new season preview done. No, let's have a... I mean, it seems bizarre that after, when was the last game? Was it the start of August when we played Fulham in the playoff, end of July? Less than 6 weeks ago, and now we're already talking about the new season. Like I said, we've already had the international break. We've already had the Carabao Cup. It's weird, isn't it, Ben?
It's really strange. Sort of, we should be feeling like we're sort of getting into the flow of the new season when we're just kicking it off. And I've hardly recovered from the last season as well. It just feels like there's been no break. And sort of, don't get me wrong, I've really missed the football anyway. It's sort of been nice this weekend to sort of watch a lot of football.
Not the Cardiff game.
Not.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. Wales was good. That was fun. They were good fun. They weren't entertaining, but they were fun. And Soccer Aid's on, kicking off soon, so I might go and watch that as well.
It's already an hour in, I believe. I think it kicked off
at
6:30. I don't know what the score is. I've not been paying attention. There's no Welsh players involved this year.
So let's face it, the people who were really going to score were the people that Yaya Toure was bringing over before he got kicked off.
Jeremy Swaz-Lynch is in there, and he was the best player at Arsenal for a while, so he'll probably get a few goals.
He's got a Lambo, do you know?
He's got a Lambo, yeah. That's unless you're paying attention to anything in the world of YouTube, that will mean absolutely nothing to anyone. I can see Tom.
Nothing to me. I switched off completely then, sorry.
Yeah, I mean, looking around the league, it doesn't feel like a new season starting, does it? It just feels like everyone's sleepwalking into the first couple of games. I mean, if you look around yesterday, I think Birmingham lost in the cup. I think Derby drew with Barrow. There's a lot of players missing. So, I mean, what do you think this is going to make for the first round of games, Tom? Do you think there's going to be some shocks, some surprises, or is it just going to be turgid, boring football as players kind of wake up?
Yeah, I think it's going to be boring, turgid football. Like, you can see that from some of the international games as well. Like, there's a lot of leggy players out there. I think you could easily find yourself like adrift after 5 games without really realising the season's kind of got going. Like, that's why that Northampton game had such a pre-season feel about it.
Yeah.
It's like, how the hell is that a competitive game? We've just finished the last one. And I think you haven't got that build-up. You haven't got that excitement for a new season as you normally do. And yeah, you could. I don't know. I think it's going to be a boring first few weeks. A few weird results out there before it kind of like levels out then towards kind of December time, where the table might start to look at how it should.
Yeah, I must admit I'm struggling to get excited for it. Really, I think there's a hangover. You know, we always talk about the pre-season hangover, the hangover from the previous season, but it's going to be even more magnified when we're only 6 weeks away from the previous season. Usually you have a couple of months separation. Now we've got 6 weeks. The players will have come back from an international break. If players were leggy before, they're already going to be leggy from the extra travel of going to the international break. So it's just going to be a weird first couple of games. And I think, Ben, does that factor into your expectations for the season, or are you looking around the league and going, actually, there's nothing to be fearful of here?
I think the league in general isn't as strong as last year. There's no real team that I look at that I think is really going to walk it.
Mm-hmm.
And teams coming down and be suffering from even bigger hangovers than what we've sort of what any of the teams gone through. And yeah, I think it could be quite exciting. I think realistically, the teams that sort of I'm a bit more concerned about from the start are going to be the teams that are coming out from League One.
Mm-hmm.
A long break, really refreshed. I think they're going to be the teams that start better and sort of fade away towards the end. They're more of a threat than teams coming down and sort of played the playoffs.
Well, I mean, did Wickham hold Brentford today 1-1 in the Carabao? Took it to penalties. I think, I see a point there. I think they've obviously had a slightly longer break. They're a bit more relaxed. They've got even less to lose in a season which is affected by coronavirus, right? And I think that's something to consider. Tom, do you look at teams like Bournemouth, Norwich? They're shedding their better players. I think Wilson's going to Newcastle today, 20 million. Norwich are selling their best. I think one of their fullbacks for about 15 million. Do you think those teams will struggle in the Championship this year?
Yeah, possibly. The thing I'm a bit worried about is just the teams that have struggled the last couple of years. That I've just got that feeling they're going to click, like the likes of Stoke. You know, and I think Forest, they did decent last year. I think they'll be up there again. But then Watford, I can see them being up towards the top. And I went into it thinking, it's not quite as strong a league. But there's a lot of teams who are quite close to each other this year. And I think we could easily end up finishing somewhere like 11th or 12th without even realising we're doing it. Like, I'm just scared of teams clicking.
It feels like we could finish 11th or 12th, but only 2 points off the playoffs.
Yeah.
It's just going to be such a tight league with, I'm looking at transfers. There's not that, I think there's a few players flying around, but there's not much major movement in this division. Obviously, Brentford has still got money. They signed Ivan Toney, but the rest of the teams don't really seem to be making big splashes in the transfer window. I mean, it's going to be a really interesting kind of season. I think if you had to call it now, Ben, where would you think we're going to end up? Tom says it's finishing around 11th. Do you think playoffs are nailed on, or is it even harder to pick?
I don't think any team can say playoffs are nailed on this year, but I like to think with the quality we've got and the way we're sort of shaping up and sort of the work Harris has done, we can improve.
Forgetting yesterday.
Yeah. Doesn't count. It's non-canon.
It's non-canon. Yesterday is non-canon. This Saturday's canon.
Yeah, exactly. So I think, I'd like to see us build on that and sort of top half, like third, fourth, or even pushing for the autos would be nice. So I think that's where the club should genuinely not just be in sort of blind, but building on the work we've done over the last 6 months under Harris, that's where the club should be looking to finish.
Interesting. Tom, you look quizzitive.
Yeah, like Hart kind of says, there's no reason why we can't be around I think third or fourth, something like that. Oh, pushing for autos, like but I just see us finishing like 8th. I don't know what it is. I just can't see us kind of challenging this year. I don't know why. Actually, because I'm always this pessimistic. That's why. Sorry, yeah.
I didn't like to say anything, but you swing wildly during games, let alone during season prediction.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm not swinging.
Oh, sorry.
But no, I give 8th. That's my prediction. 8th.
I'll go 6th. I can't remember what I predicted in the 4-4-2 predictions. Just drop that in there because I did 4-4-2 predictions this year. I think I predicted 4th or 5th. So I'll go along with that again. And I mean, if we look at our closest rivals, Ben, I think Swansea have signed a few players. They've lost a few players. There's rumours they're going to lose a few players more. Bristol of today signed Chris Martin of Derby fame. How do you see? I mean, how do you see us comparing to them? We were all in the same sort of positions going into the lockdown games last year, all around the playoffs. Do you see us pulling away from them? Do you see us being in the mix with them again?
I think Swansea, while they've made some very good signs in midfield, I think the loss of their goals with Bruce Stern, who looks like he's off, and Salina's going as well. I think they're going to really struggle unless they find someone magically in their academy to replace that, because they've not signed anyone to fill those positions. More worryingly, they've not given Declan John a squad number. So,
maybe actually he's a youth team player who could come back. Get him in. He could play right or left back.
Yeah, let's not.
Nah,
Shite at both.
But yeah,
Tom?
I think Swansea will struggle.
You think Swansea will struggle? Bristol? Your old mates?
Yeah, no, they got rid of that fucking slug. No, they've made some decent signings, to be fair. They I don't know if they've got strong because they've lost a few players and the fans don't seem happy about it. Like Corey Smith going to Swansea, they're really pissed off about. So they're going to be a hard one to predict, and sort of their manager, how it's all about the start for him, I guess, will determine what sort of season they have. But they'll fucking fall away at the end anyway.
Yeah, they will. Tom, what do you think? Down West Wales, you're probably awash with Jack bastards.
Yeah, quite a few around here. With my kind of like espionage work in and amongst them, seeing what's going on. I can't see them challenging, to be honest. I think they'll finish around kind of 16, 17. I don't think... Part of me a couple of weeks ago was thinking, they're going to drop, but I don't think they'll be that bad. But, Bristol, they'll be there or thereabouts. I think, the fresh manager in, I think there's still a kind of... They're always the nearly men, but there's still like a relatively good feeling around there that they think they can challenge up there. I think they'll be there or thereabouts. I don't think we're that much better than them that we're going to pull away from them. Yeah. And I think there's a lot of teams, like we said earlier on, around that level. Like there's people like Blackburn and Millwall and stuff who were there or thereabouts, and they're gelling. They've like decent managers as well. And this is why I think that we could end up in like 8th, because you could easily have Blackburn, Millwall, Forest, Norwich, Watford, Stoke. All those teams could finish above you and you wouldn't go, oh, that's a shock. Do you know what I mean?
Got Middlesbrough and the Warnock.
Yeah, exactly. And you wouldn't go, oh, bloody hell, that's a turn up for the Bucks if they finished above you. So I'm hoping a couple of them just don't hit a bit of form. But that's why I'm thinking, 7th or 8th, and I wouldn't be shocked.
Interesting. Right, first game, obviously, is Saturday, home against Sheffield Wednesday. We've talked about the changes we make from Northampton. Obviously, we hope that Kieffer Moore is back. We hope that Northampton's nowhere near the team. I've had a little look at the kind of business that Sheffield Wednesday have done. I mean, they're minus 12 to start the season, so it'll be quite nice if we can already deal them a little bit of a dab hand on Saturday. They've signed Kachunga, Che Dunkley, Josh Windass, who's perennially linked with Cardiff. What do you see from Saturday's game, Ben? Do you see a kind of a kick up the arse from the game against Northampton, or what do you see? What do you see in your crystal ball?
We have to see a better reaction. We have to see a reaction from the players. So, to be fair, when we've lost and sort of had these sort of defeats under Harris, we have responded very well the next game, and we have to see the same again this week, because Wednesday are going to be there with a sort of... They've got the added incentive. They're on minus 12 to start with, so their backs are right up against the wall.
They have to start well.
Yeah, they've got to start well, otherwise they're in a relegation battle when they want to be sort of with the squad they've got, realistically. I know they've lost they've lost a fair few players, but even still, they can be wanting for mid-table, pushing for the playoffs.
So I didn't realise they signed Izzy Brown as well from Chelsea, who did quite well at Luton last year.
So it's going to be a tough one.
Tough one from Ben. What do you think, Tom?
I think it screams 0-0. Like, I think like what you find like beginning of the season, teams struggle, especially during pre-season, and we haven't really had one, is to kind of get the attacking options to click. So I could just see two relatively solid defences kind of working hard and seeing out rusty attacks. Do you know what I mean? I think it just screams 0-0. And to be honest, it was not a bad result if you get 0-0 the first game of the season. It doesn't set the world alight, but yeah, I just can't see past this boring drab 0-0.
And I suppose when we look at these games now, I think we've talked about trying to bring in a bit of an element of looking at opposition players, and obviously there's an air of familiarity around Sheffield Wednesday with Kadeem Harris on the wings. Ben, what do you make of Kadeem Harris? Obviously, he got games during the Premier League season, perhaps surprisingly, considering he hadn't really been involved in the season before. I think he went to Sheffield Wednesday and 3 goals, 4 assists. Not exactly setting the world on fire, but he was a decent winger, wasn't he?
Yeah, he's an option. I mean, he was always an option for us that never really got a decent run. When he got a run, he actually did all right. It was just whether it was outside influences or injuries sort of got the better of him. And it was just the right time for him to go. He started amazingly, I remember, last season for Wednesday, and they thought they'd signed the next incumbent of Messi. Again, I see sort of the issues with him is the consistency sort of faded away, and he sort of became very average for them for the rest of the season. But he's not a bad player, and it was just the right time. Like we said at the time, it was the right time for him to go, and I wish him well, but I hope he has a fucking shocker on Saturday.
Yeah, Tom, you're nodding.
Yeah, well, obviously I want him to have a shocker on Saturday. I'm going to agree with that, aren't I? No, but I hate seeing our former players play against each other, play against us again. Like, I'd rather them do it Rhys Healey and move to a league, go to Toulouse, where they can't get anywhere near us. But yeah, no, he's a decent player, and like kind of showed like snippets of brilliance, and then just kind of mediocrity kind of took over again. You always thought there was something in and never really got going. But yeah, I hope it just doesn't get going on the weekend as well.
It's like the Cardiff City delusion, isn't it? We want to believe in the players who aren't playing for us are better than the players who are playing for us, if that makes sense.
The Danny Ward syndrome.
The Danny Ward syndrome. The Danny Ward syndrome. He's better than what we've got because what we've got is shite. But it is what it is. Now that the serious stuff is done and we can look forward to the proper start of the new season, we just wanted to let you know that we are running the View from the Ninian fantasy football once again this year. We've had to change the league this year because the person who has the login hasn't given us the login. So we've had
very professional setup.
Very professional setup here. So we've set up a new league. Ben, do you have the code to hand, or shall I read it out?
If you have it to hand, send it, because I just lost it.
Once again, like I said, very
I've got it. Sorry, my WhatsApp crashed. It was there and then it just crashed.
Go on then, Ben.
So for the Fantasy Premier League, using the official Premier League app, the code is FETYLM. That's FETYLM.
So yeah, if you can use the app or head over to fantasy.premierleague.com and you'll be able to find our league through there. And you never know, at the end of the year, we might have a Cardiff City prize for you. And if we ask Gennaro Gattuso, what kind of prize could it be?
Sometimes may be good, sometimes may be shit.
To round off today's first podcast of the new season, to round off the first podcast of the new 2020-2021 season, we're going to introduce something altogether new, which is the View from the Ninian Hall of Fame. Each week, 3 of us will put forward something related to Cardiff City for the View from the Ninian Hall of Fame. It could be a kit, a player, a moment, a manager, a seat, even someone you sat next to at the game. All 3 nominations will then be put into a poll on Twitter for you, the listeners, to vote on. By the end of the season, we might even do like the View from the Ninian Hall of Fame World Cup, where we come up with that one defining moment in Cardiff City history that you guys on Twitter seem to like. So it's the first round of nominations this week, and as it was Ben Price's idea, you can go first. So you got about a minute to pitch us what you want to put into the View from the Ninian Hall of Fame.
Sounds good. Right. As we all know, this last week or so, kits have launched. I love a good kit. This year, meh. So I'm nominating the Joma kit from the last year at Ninian Park. There's argument saying it's not quite the right blue. It's sort of like a faded blue. But for me, that is my all-time favourite Cardiff City kit. And there's my nomination. I just think it's a fucking fantastic kit from a very disappointing end of a season.
Probably got about 40 seconds there, mate, if you want to say anything else.
Lee Johnson's a slug.
If that'll help your cause.
Let it go, man.
Yeah, he's out of a job. You killed him already. Right, so the first nomination there, the Blue Joma kit from the 2008-2009 season. I'll go with my nomination next, and then Tom, you can round us off. So my nomination is Gary O'Neill's loan spell in the 2004-2005 season. Obviously, these things are not, like we said, it could be anything related to Cardiff City. And in a really drab season where Black Friday, where Graham Kavanagh was whisked off in a helicopter to go and, I don't know, sign for Wigan or whatever it was. We had this kind of bright period of 9 games where Gary O'Neill, England's under-21 captain, wearing white socks before players wore white socks over their football socks, came in and just showed us how good a footballer could be. I just remember that during that period that he signed from Portsmouth. He was a bit of an unknown quantity, but knowing that he was the England under-21 captain, he was just quality. In a season where we had players like Richard Langley toiling away for 90 minutes on the right wing, even though he wasn't a right winger, Gary O'Neill just oozed class and oozed quality. And I think he made a difference in a period of the season where things were really, really bleak, really bleak. We were staring relegation in the face, and Gary O'Neill came in and helped us turn that around. So my nomination is Gary O'Neill's loan spell in 2004-2005.
Nice. That was longer than a minute, by the way.
Was it?
I don't know. It just felt like it was.
He had taken the time I had going, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. He yielded his time, and I took it. And now over to you, Tom, to round us off for the first You From The Ninian Hall of Fame nominations.
So I've gone for Michael Chopra's Too Hot to Handle boot. It just kind of typified that period, 2009-10, when Cardiff City strikers scored goals. And, seeing Chopra bag a brace against Bristol City and running off to the corner, dropping the boot in that celebration on the floor as if he was on fire. And it just, made me fall in love with watching Cardiff City. We're just crying out for a striker now to do that. And we just haven't had it the last, 10 years. And, I think, like I said, it just typified Cardiff in that period. So for me, yeah, it's got to be Michael Chopra's Too Hot to Handle boot.
Got into FIFA as well that year, didn't it? It was one of the FIFA celebrations.
It did. See?
Yeah. Yeah, it was a good moment. Right, so listeners out there in podcast land, we will be putting this on as a Twitter poll at some point this week. Let's say Wednesday. And then we'll give you 24 hours to vote on what you want to see as the first entrant into the View From The Ninian Hall of Fame. We'll keep doing this on a weekly basis until we run out of esoteric things to talk about. I was really kind of trying to think about what I could put into this, and I didn't want to, blow my load too early with, I don't know, like my favourite kit or something like that. So hopefully, Ben, you've absolutely shat the bed on this one.
I've got to admit, the joyous thing about Cardiff City is I can use this kit this week because we're going to come up with some utter nonsense one week that's going to just absolutely steal the show.
Yeah,
it will.
The poll, so I'm not worried.
No, that's good. I'm glad you're not worried. And I suppose that's probably the best place to leave this podcast. I think maybe now we round off the podcast with let's say we're looking ahead to Saturday's game. Ben, what's your prediction for Saturday's game? Scoreline, scorers?
I'll go 1-1 and a Leo Bakuna goal.
Tom?
0-0, no scorers.
I'm going to go 1-0, Kieffer more. Because, why not? It's narrative, isn't it?
It's the start of him winning the Ballon d'Or.
It is the start of him winning the Ballon d'Or, and this is the start of our campaign. Kieffer Moore for the Ballon d'Or. Ben, thanks for joining us again. See you next week.
Bye.
Tom?
Have a good one.
Yeah, and we'll be back next week with the next pod.
They may not be that smart and they may not be that pretty, but they like to talk about Cardiff City. It's the View From The Ninian, with views from the Ninian, not shoes from the Ninian. The View From The Ninian.